Hello. So I got some new books recently. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, and that's because I was taking a break, but I should return to my normal schedule now. The first book I got was a undergraduate text in mathematics. Um, as some of you might know, I'm doing like a approaching math and the foundations upwards, and I'm going to make a series about it. I've been documenting my progress, but I have so much time in the day, right? So this book is basically it starts with the foundations and then it works up to more advanced topics. But most importantly, why I got this book was as like something to read on the side next to my textbooks. Because what this book it does is try to explain why math is useful. And so it goes over useful mathematical concepts and then applies them to everyday life. And on top of that, it does a lot of word problems, which something I struggle with. I actually want to buy some problem books that focus on word problems, which I think if you focus on word problems will help you translate math to day-to-day life more readily. So yeah, as you can see, I think it's just mostly algebra and arithmetic. It's nothing too difficult in the book, and it's really focused on exploring applying math, not so much learning math. So that'll be a fun book to read. This next one, Numbers and Geometry, I believe I'm actually not sure what the book is supposed to be doing. I only got it because it was something I could read beside I have a proof-based approach to geometry. It's a huge textbook that I'm slowly going through, and I wanted something to read along the side. So I'm not actually sure what this book is supposed to be doing. I just know it goes over a lot of numbers that are involved in geometry. That's all I know. So, yeah. Don't know much about the book, though. This next book, I got a few of these books. Pascal, Human Happiness. I figured it would be a fun read. And on top of that, Pascal is one of these writers where I feel like getting his works is more difficult. I think Béziat is also like this. I have his book, The Law, but I'm not sure, some people sometimes put them together and then you end up buying doubles and copies. So I figured, I like the idea of Human Happiness and Pascal. I've read some of his stuff before, so yeah, I decided to get it. Marcel Proust, this was a no-brainer for me because it's a book on reading. So it's just it's called Days of Reading, and I think it's just various reflections of Proust's experiences with reading. So that's obviously a no-brainer for someone like me. Leo Tolstoy, I think this is his reflections on faith. So this is his nonfiction stuff. And he just talks about his relationship with faith. And I believe he's actually a rationalist about the nature of faith, which is not common. Usually people say faith is a belief-based position, not like an inferred position. Conspicuous Consumption. So I think Thorstein, I don't know how you say his name. He has a larger book that you can get, but this is just the specific section that deals with the unproductive consumption of goods is honorable. And that's a thesis that I don't agree with, but that's why I got it. So we'll see what he has to say. Maybe the book is actually arguing that is a true thesis. I'm hoping so, but that's the only reason I got it is because I highly disagree with it. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think I read the other book, not this one. I've vaguely remembered reading this one, but I guess I read the other one. He has another one, like 7 something of something people. And I just want to expand my self-help collection. I don't include like theology books or Stoic philosophy books as self-help, like Cicero, for example. And as I was building a self-help stack in my library, and I only have like 10 proper self-help books. I didn't really have a lot of them. And so I figured, I'll start expanding that out and getting some of the classics. Not because I think these are highly sought after books. I don't think you should be going after self-help books. You should be reading real books. But these books have tidbits or ideas that when you spread them throughout your life can be useful. It's just interesting self-motivation ideas or something, right? The Mehdi Hassan, The Art of Debating. Art of debating, persuading, and public speaking, win every argument. I got this because he did something that was really interesting in this section. I mean, he's obviously a smart guy, but it's this section here, actually, I think, where he goes over his discussion with Steven Pinker. And although I don't think he won the discussion with Steven Pinker, it was very interesting to see the rhetorical tools that he was using to counter Steven Pinker's worldview. And I didn't think it didn't make his position any more true, but it did make his position a very skillful display of rhetoric. So that's literally the only reason why I got this book. This next one is Blackholes, The Key to Understanding the Universe, Brian Cox and Jeff Forshaw. I want to study black holes actually at some point. They're kind of interesting. No, they're really interesting. I still need to go through the foundations of physics, and I'm currently going through the foundations of math and trying to learn chess and so on and so forth. So I'm stretched pretty thin at the moment, but I do want to go and study this stuff more thoroughly at some point. Give it like a solid 2 years or 3 years of studying like 2 to 3 hours a day on physics. The Devil You Know, Encounters in Forensic Psychiatry. So I got this, again, I was at a bookstore, and I thought that's kind of interesting. And I really like these books where psychologists write their opinions and stuff with the people they've had interviews with. That stuff is pretty interesting to me, because I really like analyzing human behavior. It was like one of the first disciplines I've ever studied. So I got this. I think this is basically her interviewing people who are criminally insane, or maybe they're just criminals. I don't know. I have no clue. I just thought it was really interesting. This next one, The Last Days of the Ottoman Empire. I have a bunch of books in the Ottoman Empire, and I don't have this one, and it's the only reason why I got it. I figured it's not a big book by any means, and it's a simple, like it's not math or anything, it's not physics, it's not chemistry. It's just a simple nonfiction book. I could probably read this in 3 days, and it will be a complement to reinforcing some of the ideas I already have about the Ottoman Empire from other books I've read. I do the same thing with the Roman Empire or any other empire. Saving Time, Discovering a Life Beyond the Clock. So I actually got this book because of this subheader, and I believe it's just someone's meditations or like reflections on how modern society has become so time aware or like time sensitive, like everything has to be done by a deadline. And I think that's kind of interesting, right? Because I've read other books like this where it's like The Art of Wasting Time, or The Philosophy of Walking, or The Philosophy of a Passenger. These kind of people who analyze one specific niche in modern life to great lengths. I always find that a little bit interesting. Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. I actually don't agree with this book at all. I think EQ is roughly a meme, so to speak. But that being said, I also think IQ has issues as well, by the way. It's not without its issues. And there are some good arguments that actually need to be refuted if you're going to argue that IQ is a measurement of intelligence. It's, what's that guy's name who wrote The Black Swan? I forget his name. But he has a book where he has an argument where if you control for the bottom 10%, like if you add a noise field to the bottom 10% of IQ measurements, it no longer correlates with things that are meaningful. So like wealth, education, health, these things disappear. There's no longer a correlation between them. And he thinks that social scientists don't add noise filters like physicists do. And so they get really bad correlations, such as the one with IQ. But I'm rambling. So I'll just read this book, though, because I think it'll be useful to see what Goleman has to say about the nature of emotions. I think he's obviously an intelligent person, and even if I don't agree with his ideas, he probably has complex, robust models about the nature of emotion that will be useful for my own thinking about emotion, right? So I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Grit. So again, I was building my self-help collection, and I know this is a famous book, and this is a book I really do agree with. I think grit is foundation to everything. It's important. If you don't have grit, you're not going to get anything. And so I figured I'd finally read this. I remember watching her TED Talk, and she said that grit was the biggest predictor of success, even more so than IQ. This one, obviously, the Gulag Archipelago, I thought I had it, but I didn't, and so I had to buy it. And there's a foreword by Jordan Peterson. That is actually hilarious. It's really funny. Okay. Yeah, I'll read this. Someone I know was reading it and said it was a really good book, so I decided I will finally give it a read. Some people don't like this book, by the way. Some politically active people don't like that book. The Silk Road. I always thought this book was a meme, like a meme book, like a mainstream kind of Yuval's Homo Sapiens kind of book. It's not really academically rigorous, but a lot of you guys keep telling me to read it. Like a lot of you guys keep telling me to read it. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to give it a shot and we'll see where it goes. It's a pretty big book, actually. May contain lies, how stories, statistics, and studies exploit our biases and what we can do about it. I just wanted to get this to be reminded about how media can trick you, because even someone like me who understands that statistics is all about framing, it's still, I can get myself caught up sometimes in headlines, especially if it's like politically sensational headlines about like geopolitics or something. I decided I would get this just as a reminder, and it's not that long, right? It's maybe take you like 20 hours to read. It's a very short book. It's a very thin book. It's not that wide. It's probably 70,000 words. This book, The Warren Buffett Way, the third edition, is a very famous book, and there's another book that goes with it called The Warren Buffett Portfolio. This one goes over how Buffett analyzes financial statements, and then the Warren Buffett Portfolio goes over how Buffett builds his portfolios. I really like the Warren Buffett portfolio, and it goes against pretty much everything you'll learn. And if you pick up a modern portfolio textbook, modern portfolio theory textbook, that book goes against everything that modern portfolio theory would teach you. Like, for example, the weighted average cost of capital is something that modern portfolio theory is really into, and Buffett thinks it's nonsense because it involves the volatility of price in your calculations, which to Buffett is borderline meaningless. Not completely, but borderline. And so this is a compliment to that book. I haven't read it yet. I will read it though, and I will let you guys know how it goes. Now, these next ones, I was going over, rudimentary. I already have like an elementary algebra textbook, and I'm doing the Khan Academy stuff. But the problem is textbooks don't have a lot of problems. And I was looking for books that have a lot of problems, and I would find some workbooks that had problems, but not enough. So I decided to look at Shams because from what I've seen in their marketing, they always write problems. That this is a problem-oriented textbook. And when I look through it, it does look like it's a lot of problems, right? It's all problems. And there's solutions in the back, although we have generative AI now, right? I could have used ChatGPT to generate problems, but in the same way that I prefer physical books over ebooks, I prefer problem books over AI-generated problems. So, this is a great book that I can just do if, like, I don't know, sitting outside, or I don't need to be particularly focused because nothing in here is going to be super difficult. It's going to be a lot of recalling and just practice. But I'm really happy that I got this because I wanted problems. This next one is Mathematics of Finance. So I actually had no intention of doing this, but because I saw that they had this, I figured, well, I really like finance, and it doesn't hurt to practice the concepts, because it's been a long time since I've done introductory finance or even the mathematical finance book. And a lot of the math concepts I learned in finance, I don't need because I just studied 10K reports. Mostly 10K, sometimes 20F or 8K, right? And you don't even need like the calculate yield curves when you're doing that, right? You don't really need to do that stuff. The most complex thing you'll do is maybe discounted cash flow models, and it's very simple. So yeah, this would be a great just practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. In the same vein, I saw that they had this. I already have a lot of logic books, but the logic books I have tend to be like normal book size, like Carnap's book or something, and they tend not to have the solutions. And the last time I did them, it was kind of annoying because I did it before the era of generative AI, so like 8 years ago. And I really struggled to sometimes to determine if I was right. I'd have to assume I was right. And I'd be like, yeah, this checks out. But like, there's no third-party third-party viewer who could tell me that it was correct. So this is, again, solved problems, and it goes over just the basics, nothing too advanced. I think the last chapters are a little bit more advanced, but you'll be ready by then. And I already have a discrete mathematics textbook as well that's really big. It's called Discrete Mathematics and Its Applications. It's a very famous one. But again, more problems makes you a better mathematician, right? Math is all about solving problems, not just learning theory. And the last one is probability and statistics. Again, just problems to solve. Probably in the next 2 months or so, I will get the calculus one and the trigonometry and geometry one. And I think they have an abstract algebra one as well. So I'll probably buy those. But these already are going to take me a couple months to go through because I'm only doing math for like 2 or 3 hours a day, right? If I was doing math 8 hours a day, these books would be finished in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I don't have that kind of time. Yeah, this is just statistics, right? Probability statistics. So those are the books I recently got. And again, I'm going to be back to uploading regularly. I just had to take a 5-day break because I wanted a break. And that being said, if there's any books you want me to buy, let me know. And if you know any math books, I've come across the undergraduate mathematics text series and the Sham series. If you know any other series or books, I know Princeton has some, let me know and I'll look into them because I'm really looking for books that focus on problems, not just teaching. But with that being said, bye-bye for now.